This data covers from April of 2024 to March of 2025, and it shows the end of the Biden administration was possibly not as big in terms of job growth as first thought of this. Now, the Biden administration, they created in this period 1.76 million jobs. So the 911,000 will be subtracted from the 1.76 million jobs, which comes out to 849,000, showing the Biden job growth not as strong as first thought.
So this is an extremely important economic story. I know it might get a little nerdy for people, but I encourage you to sit here and bear with us because this is essentially going to debunk all of the liberal arguments that you have heard around the Trump economy and tariffs as of late, because you've heard a lot of screeching in the past couple of months about how Trump inherited an amazing economy from Joe Biden, and he's completely screwing it up and destroying it. And the reason why you're seeing, for instance, weak job creation numbers is because of the Trump tariffs and Liberation Day. Obviously, that's not true on a number of levels. First and foremost, it's not true that Trump inherited a prosperous economy from Joe Biden, and the empirical way we know that is because of the fact that in the 2024 election, where overwhelmingly the top issue for voters was the economy, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris basically got destroyed on the general ballot. Now, of course, the liberal argument has long been that, well, that's just an issue of Americans' perception, right? The perception didn't meet the economy. In reality, the economy was good, but Americans just felt like it wasn't going well. But the data, the reports disagree. Well, as we tried to point out to you, the data, first of all, is not accurate. It's not really real. And that is exactly what is being proven here, which is indeed the Biden administration lied about the economy and specifically lied about the jobs market. Now, again, this shouldn't be surprising because we saw these trends, if you were paying attention, happening all over the place. All of this stuff about weak jobs market didn't begin in the past couple months. It's been going on in the past year, and now we see the proof because a revision that was conducted today by the Bureau of Labor Statistics deleted close to 1 million jobs. And actually, when you go back to 2023, I think it's almost 2 million jobs from the Joe Biden economy, essentially showing here that the so-called growth and the so-called prosperity of his tenure was indeed, newsflash, as we just said, not even real. This is significant for a number of reasons. Not just because it proves that he sucked, but also because when you look now to the current state of the economy and these jobs reports, it is solid proof that the tariffs are not causing what is destroying or struggling currently in the economy, and further shows that the Federal Reserve and Jerome Powell, who have been infamously refusing to cut interest rates because they claim, oh, Joe Biden's economy, this, tariffs, that, they were acting on wrong assumptions. So in other words, let's put this much more simply, Trump was right about everything when it comes to the current state of the economy, and we'll explain for you this scandal over at the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This, of course, is coming at the same time where the chief of that division is coming under fire from the Trump administration, and Democrats are just claiming, oh, you want to fire her because she's putting out numbers that are unfavorable to you. This is dystopian. No. We're trying to fire her because, as you can see, she's not only bad at her job, I think it's pretty clear here there was a targeted action to basically pad the stats, right? Pump up the numbers, cook the books before the 2024 election to try to gaslight Americans, and shout out and credit to the American population for not falling for it. So in today's video, I want to explain for you essentially what's happening at BLS and why it's significant. We'll get into it. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're almost at 500K. Help us get there. Hit that red button. And with that said, let us first start with the context of a couple of weeks ago. This is, of course, what liberals were attacking Trump for and saying, again, it's his fault. It's because of the tariffs. In the month of August, we saw a rather weak jobs report from BLS showing that the U.S. economy added only 22,000 jobs in August. That's not a good number. The unemployment rate rose to 4.3%, which is allegedly the highest since October of 2021. And even the June job growth numbers were revised down by 13,000. So there you have it. Now, this comes at the same time where the Trump administration is talking about firing the chief of BLS who reports these jobs numbers because she's not doing a good job. Now, Democrats, of course, understandably have turned around and claimed that, well, you're just doing so because the numbers are not favorable to you. And you can take a listen to this recent interview before the report of Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent being confronted on this on NBC, and take a listen to what he says. It's significant because we'll show you here the Trump administration was right about this. So take a listen.
Mr. Secretary, the economy did add nearly 500,000 manufacturing jobs under former President Biden. In this case, since April, again, you're actually losing manufacturing jobs. Is that problematic for your policy?
Well, a couple of things, Chris. We're going to get the revisions for last year next week, and there may be as big as an 800,000 job downward revision. Again, this would be the second downward revision, so I'm not sure what these people who collect the data have been doing. It's good. We need good data. Secondly, what we are seeing is the jobs that are being created are going to either native-born or legal Americans. Most of the jobs created under the Biden administration, they went to illegal aliens.
Well, and I think that there would be a lot of debate over the fact that they went to illegal aliens, but let's keep moving.
No. That's the fact.
Yeah, well, update here. It wasn't just 800,000. There's actually 900,000 jobs. You can see here just in 911,000 fewer jobs were created between April of 2024 and March of 2025. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says, wow, that's a big revision. That means the labor market was weak even before the tariffs kicked in. This is important to keep in mind. The jobs market was mostly frozen in 2024 too. So if you ever needed the confirmation that this guy, when he was campaigning for re-election, was lying and making stuff up, indeed, we now know that for a fact. Yes, the Biden economy sucked, and Trump has inherited this mess. He has not created this mess.
I mean, look what we've been able to do. We've created 16 million jobs. I mean, real new jobs.
And this is really important to understand. This is not just going to be a video primarily dunking on Biden, but it is important to really know how we got here. Because it is true, in many economic sectors, there's a lot of struggling going on. You look at the city of Las Vegas, they're basically dealing with a recession right now. The tourism is down, they're losing jobs. A lot of layoffs across a lot of different companies in this country. We need to point out why that is happening. Because the liberal argument on this has been, oh, well, the tariffs started what? 3-4 months ago, and magically all of these companies that were doing it so amazing are now just going under because, look, Trump is so bad at handling economics. But as you can clearly see, that is not the case. These trends have been going on for a long time, in many cases, well over a year. So in order to understand really what's going on here and the explanation for all of this, we have to first of all go back to the so-called prosperity of that Joe Biden economy. As you heard a lot of these things, oh, the GDP is growing and the jobs numbers are doing great and look at the wages and all this garbage that no one ever believed. But what was going on there? This is important to understand. So the very reason Joe Biden claimed a prosperous economy and the growth around it was never sincere, real growth, right? The very reason why inflation ticked up so freaking high alongside the so-called booming economy was because of the fact this was not being a creation of companies just really doing well or really selling more products or something. No, it originates back to what? And we all know the answer here, the COVID stimulus money. When you look at the billions and I think even perhaps trillions of dollars that the US government basically artificially pumped into the economy, well, back around 2022, 2023, at the same time where you saw the bounce back of COVID jobs that were reinstated, people going on the tourist trips that they did not go on back in 2020, they weren't allowed to, basically created this big boom where, yes, you did see job growth. Yes, you did see things pumping up, but you also saw a bunch of inflation because, again, it was artificial. What you also saw, furthermore, I would argue this, and you currently see a lot of Democrat states struggling with this, right? Their budgets are going bankrupt, right? California has a big debt crisis, Colorado, Chicago, et cetera, et cetera. And this isn't just a matter of Democrats. Companies did this. I would argue even consumers did this. Where am I going with this? Well, basically, because of that fake money that was pumped into our economy, I think consumers, businesses, and local governments alike basically all spent beyond their means because of that fake stimulus, because of the artificial bubble. And what I would argue has happened now, and again, this has nothing to do with tariffs. This was going on even back to 2024, including that story about Vegas, which you look back to 2024, they were reporting this was already happening, right? Is that now that that sort of artificial bubble has burst and everything is coming back to reality, you're seeing a constriction and a slowdown of the economy because we're like, oh, shoot, we never really had the money to invest in all this new stuff. We never really had the money or the resources to be hiring all these people. A lot of consumers, by the way, the reason why there is a huge crisis with our personal debt in this country, right? Credit card debt as well at record highs is because, again, right after COVID, when the world reopened, everyone spent beyond their means. Why is this all relevant? Where am I going with this? Well, it's just simply the case that, yes, I'm not denying the U.S. economy is struggling, but you do not magically get a situation where everything is going fantastically, and then, of course, in the span of like a couple of months, suddenly, because of tariffs, that's what destroys all of this. As a matter of fact, what Trump is currently trying to do, I would argue, with Liberation Day, with kind of restructuring our trade, doing new investment in the United States, creating these new jobs, is actually trying to salvage the post-COVID problem we have had, which I would essentially argue and describe as a fake economy, right? A fake economy based on prosperity. A lot of the companies currently operating, they're either in record debt. A lot of them are ghost companies. No one can really define, frankly, what the U.S. economy does. And Trump's trying to do with the tariffs, hey, let's actually bring like real jobs that actually do things and real growth and real prosperity to our people, not just doing so by playing around with interest and taking out loans and printing money and all of this garbage, right? So that's why this is all, again, here, very important to understand. And yes, it vindicates the fact that Liberation Day is not what caused this. The Joe Biden slowdown was an inevitable trend, and currently Trump is trying to fix that for people by not just sitting around and doing nothing, right? So very important to keep in mind. Here's another explanation of it. This is another BLS scandal, and Trump was absolutely right to fire the BLS commissioner. What does this mean? Indeed, yes. There was virtually no job creation in the last year of the Biden administration. Again, Trump did not create this problem. Even the job growth and job creation under Biden that you did see was either bounce back jobs or artificial growth by the pumping of stimulus into the economy. And once that was drying up, now they're blaming Trump for the slump, but it's not really that. It's the fact that, again, they created this problem for themselves. This is why you're seeing layoffs. This is why you're seeing a crisis in both government and in private sector jobs. But of course, secondly, what does it also show? That Trump was right about Jerome Powell and the interest rates. The Fed should have started cutting in February, perhaps even before then in terms of the rates. Because contrary to this number about how, the economy is really growing, it's doing well, we have to curb inflation, that's why I won't cut the rates so that way we don't, see an inflation crisis. No, actually, the economy has not been growing. And for many months now, even before Liberation Day, the Federal Reserve, yes, should have cut the rates to allow for more growth, more investment, more people to kind of get mobile, get doing things, consume more, spend more, work more, et cetera, in our economy. So that's why on many different levels, I say this is just such a major scandal. Because you really break it down, I would argue there was almost this intentional plan by the Biden administration, first of all, to fake and gaslight an economy to win re-election, and that obviously did not work, but that was their plan, but also secondly, to sabotage the incoming Trump administration. Because based on these fake jobs numbers, the Federal Reserve did not listen to Trump's will, made really bad decisions, and it turns out now, judging by the jobs reports, straight up wrong decisions. And then furthermore, I would argue even when you look back at the way the COVID stimulus money was spent, what it was intended to do was create this artificial economic boom under the Biden administration. And no matter who won the election, essentially around that time, right around 2024, and especially in the start of 2025, you were always, and I said this, by the way, back in even December, you were always going to see the bubble burst there, and as a result, a bunch of layoffs, a bunch of economic slowdown, but either be one of two outcomes. Either Biden or Kamala won the election and they'd be like, okay, whatever, we're safe, we won. Or Trump would win the election still, and then you could turn around and blame Trump for, ruining the economy when he didn't ruin anything. They ruined it, and he's coming in here and trying to fix that. So, that's why, of course, again, this story is just so important. And yes, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, clearly a political entity. I would like to frankly know whether or not the DEI hire that was running it was intentionally doing this on behalf of the Biden administration. It does look kind of shady, but nonetheless, guys, there you essentially have it. So just to briefly recap, no, the tariffs are not causing the economic problems. They're designed to fix it. The economic problems were inevitable, and they were created, yes, by the Biden administration. And this is all being confirmed right now because all these trends never started back in April when they were claiming. They started a long time ago, but if you paid attention to this country, you should have already known that. But with that said, guys, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.